Hey, friends, and welcome to another episode of the Level Up Podcast. I'm your host, Taylor Petronovitch, joined as always by my co host, Kelley Gilster.
Hi guys, how's it going? Taylor, how are you?
I'm great. Kelley, we just got these brand new podcast mics, and I would love to know if you guys on the listening end of this can tell a difference.
We became the cool kids and got Schur's and decided to ditch our $50 Amazon microphones that we have just been like, who are we? We were like, we need to be. It drove Paul nuts, this microphone. He was like, what is this? You guys are a business. You need to take this seriously. Get some Schur's. And so he actually went onto Amazon, shipped a Schur to Taylor's house, shipped one home, like to our house here. So if you guys are listening and you're like, whoa, they leveled up, the audio sounds great, let us know if you notice a difference.
And if you can't notice a difference, I'll be very sad because these were expensive. Just kidding. It was fine. It was time.
It was time.
Okay, so we have a lot of great things to talk about on the podcast today. The guest is fabulous. But before we get into that, we want to just highlight a listener review we have from the podcast. We've been loving seeing your guys' reviews come in. It's so, so sweet. And we've mentioned before that our goal is really to cultivate community, and we want this to be a two-way relationship, not just one where you guys watch or listen to us and then like it doesn't go the other way, right? So we want to be in communication with you directly too. So this is kind of like a great way to begin that. And so we want to highlight those who have taken that step. So actually, this one is from Osiris and Michelle with Modern Love Productions, who were longtime listeners. They were a part of one of my very first educational programs I launched back in 2020. So that's 4 years ago. And then they also went through our luxury mastermind, which was so great having them along for the ride again. But they said, I subscribe and listen regularly. It's always full of great content and tips and really gets me thinking. I'm a pretty methodical person and it really helps me because I feel like Taylor does a great job of explaining things and I'm enjoying hearing Kelley's perspective now as well. So thank you
Thanks, you
guys.
guys. So great. We love hearing your kind words. And like I said, we enjoy hearing from you. We want to build this relationship, build this community. We have lots of great communities. We have our Instagram community. We have our Facebook group. If you want to join our Facebook group and get to know all the great things that we have going on over there in that community, you can go to our Instagram bio, click on our links thing, and then go down there and you'll find all the areas where you can become more connected with us in our Level Up community. So without further ado, let's hop into today's episode. With Victoria and Events, we're going to be talking about how to begin to confidently say no in your business to start to see real growth. So Taylor, let's do it.
This is the Level Up Podcast. I'm Taylor Petronovitch.
And I'm Kelley Gilster of 618 Studios.
And we are on a mission to help wedding filmmakers and photographers level up their businesses so you can make more and work less.
We want to help you confidently take your business from mainstream to luxury, and it all starts right here. Well, hey, Victoria, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm so excited to talk to you two. I've been loving listening to all the episodes, so I'm super excited for this.
We're excited too. We love to bring on a blend of all areas of the industry. Even though Taylor and I are filmmakers ourselves, we love to bring on planners and photographers and designers and all types of people, copywriters sometimes, because we love all things business here. And we're excited to hear a little bit more about your business. Can you tell the listeners what you do, where you're based, what types of weddings you do, all of those things?
Totally. So my business is Victoria and Events. I'm a wedding planner, designer, and I am based in LA and also on the East Coast, outside of Philadelphia. But we are destination wedding planners. So we always say wherever our clients want to go, wherever they want to take us, that's where we go. So I definitely focus on domestic and Caribbean, Mexico, those types of weddings. Europe, I love to go and travel, but not really my thing for weddings. um, but yeah, that's what we do. We're full service planners. We're a small but mighty team. We do full, sometimes week filled weddings. Like our average days for weddings are about 3 to 4 days of events. So there, a lot of different moving parts, and it's been a lot of fun.
That's so amazing. Where have been some of the places that you've traveled to this year in 2024?
In 2024, so we were in Cumberland Island, which is off the coast of Georgia. Beautiful little private island that you would never even know was there. It's actually where John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette got married. And so we had a wedding there, and that was really definitely one of our career highlights, not only because it was such a unique situation, but also because it was my cousin's wedding. So it was a lot of fun to plan with her. Um, we've been in, where else? New York City. We are doing one here, just kind of 6 minutes from my house.
No way.
Yeah,
We
in
love
Bucks
that.
County. Yeah, so that's really nice. We've been in LA, back in Malibu. We've been in Miami. So we've been a little bit of everywhere this year. Santa Barbara, we will be going to. And then in 2025, we have coming up Punta Mita, 2 Palm Springs, 1 Santa Barbara, and I think that's it.
Wow.
So far.
Yeah, so far.
So far.
So
So
far.
you truly are bi-coastal. Yeah.
Truly bi-coastal. Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. So
Yeah.
2024 sounded amazing. 2025 sounds like it's sounding amazing, or, coming to fruition into being an amazing season for you. Where did this all begin though? Where was your year one, and where did you get your start into planning weddings?
So I realized that wedding planning, like being an actual professional wedding planner, was a thing when I worked at Four Seasons in Miami. And I was in the catering department, and there were these fabulous planners that would come through. And that's really where I was like, oh, like you can get paid for this. And this is a lot of fun, and I loved the excitement of it. I loved the challenge of it. I love that you had different clients with different cultures, and you got to see, the way different families interacted. So that's basically where I got my glimpse into like wedding planning as a profession. And then my husband and I got married. We were living in Miami at the time. We moved to LA, and that's really where I was like, I'm going to take this full time. I'm actually going to plan weddings. Then it took me some time to actually put myself out there and get a client, because I was like, I just kept taking classes, like any kind of like online something I could take. And finally he was like, okay, you've taken every class, I think, imaginable. Like, when are you going to actually get a client?
That's so funny.
And recently I just found like the paperwork for my first wedding. And I charged them $550.
Yes.
Which I thought was so much money. I was like afraid to tell them my price.
It's so funny, like, even like we love this conversation with like photographers and filmmakers, but hearing about it from like a planner's point of view, like we literally all go through the same exact growing pains. It's wild.
It is so wild. Like, I literally had to like come out of pocket to pay like my assistant on the day of, because I was like, oh wait, I can't do this. Like, I need somebody to help me. Like, how am I going to do this all myself?
Yeah. So you probably like came out making $0.
Oh yeah, I made no money.
No money. Yeah.
No money at all. And I did like all the crafts. I like anything that they said they wanted. I was like, oh, I can make that. Oh, I can do that. I mean, it was beautiful. And actually I still talk to that couple to this day. And it was at the groom's parents' home. In, I guess that's considered Whittier.
Okay. Yes. Not too far from me. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was beautiful home, and they were like the nicest, sweetest couple in the whole entire world. But we had a lot of fun, but I definitely was like, oh my gosh, like, okay, first of all, I need to charge way more because I'm there pretty much all day. And
Yeah.
I need to be able to pay an assistant. No more crazy arts and crafts.
No.
Like we need to be, finding people, but it was definitely a learning experience. That first wedding taught me a lot. Um, and then from there, I got really great photos from that wedding. And then I just kind of used those to kind of promote myself. I did a lot of freelance work with a planner who did more events, not weddings. I learned a lot from her, but it also allowed me to really connect with other vendors that then recommended me for weddings because they were like, oh, I know you're not really wanting to do these types of events, but I can totally recommend you for weddings. And that's kind of how the business started to take off.
Amazing. That's so fun to hear. And it is so fun to see like how parallel all of our journeys are. And I think for people who are still maybe in those trenches where they're coming out of pocket for things or feeling like they're working way too hard for the amount they're getting paid, like it's so nice to see that that's just for a short season and being strategic and putting in the work will pay off in the long run for sure. Now, we talked a little bit before we hit record about this concept of knowing when to say no and what can come from that. So, can you talk to us a little bit about how that's played a role in your journey and what your thoughts are on that?
Totally. So I definitely know has become part of my vocabulary more recently than before, just because I have my daughter now. And so I know how important my time with her is, but also how important my time with my business is and how much I love my couples and I want to be able to pour into them. And so realizing kind of on some of those initial calls, like this really isn't the right fit, or this is, even though maybe I want to fill a date on my calendar, do I really want to, take this wedding on? Is there somebody I know that could better serve this couple? And not just saying yes just because like I have the date open and I'm available and they want to book. But maybe I know from conversations that the budget isn't going to be exactly what we typically work with, because I used to commit sometimes to weddings that I was like, okay, they don't want to spend this, but we can still do something beautiful and we'll have a fun time. And then I was like, I don't want to do that to my vendor partners and my creative partners of like calling them and being like, hey, I really want to use you, but like they can't really pay your full rate or, that kind of thing. And so that power of just being able to take the step back and, really ask those questions beforehand has really helped me to walk away from certain things and feel good about walking away and knowing that just because we didn't book that person or that event, we still, something else is around the corner that will probably be even better. And I've proved that to myself time and time and time again. But it is so hard. I think that like scarcity feeling that all business owners have, like is the phone gonna ring again? Is there a lead gonna come in again? I don't think wherever you are in your business, I think that is always in the back of your mind. So being able to say no can be scary sometimes.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
so scary. Like, no
so
matter how
scary.
successful you are, I think that there's like that ping of doubt, even though, like, in your heart that, like, it's gonna be fine.
Exactly. You totally know, but you're like, oh my gosh, like this is a really great venue. And like, I know this is not how much it's going to cost them and they're going to spend the money, but it's like, do I want to have that battle? No. I want to like do it with somebody who's ready to jump all in and that wedding will come or that event will come.
Yeah, it's so true. I think, in the beginning of business, we kind of just have to like sort of go for volume. One, to kind of determine who are the clients that we want to work with. You kind of have to work with lots of different people, lots of different styles, lots of different venues to understand like, ooh, like when I walked away from this one, like I felt creatively fulfilled, or this felt in alignment with the direction that I want to take my brand. So, like in that year one, two, three, like I think it is sort of in the volume game. And I think that that volume game can be great because then you get to like decide which road you want to go on and start to like really niche down. And then I think that's where exponential growth comes from. But to your point about the scarcity mindset, it's really hard to not say yes to everything and be okay with like, okay, I can say no, I can do it purposefully. It took me way too long to figure that out. I think I was like, it probably took me like year 8 to like realize like I needed to like be more strategic about what I did say yes to. Um, because I remember in particular, we got by chance, like we got paired up with like a planner on at a way higher caliber that we were like shooting at the time. And they loved working with us. And so they sent us like 4 or 5 referrals for like that year or that following year. And we had to say no to every one of them because we had said yes to things that we shouldn't have said yes to. And then that potential relationship ultimately just kind of fizzled because we had to tell them no every time. And they're like, well, they're never available. So, like, we're going to move on to like cultivate a relationship with somebody who is going to have the space and availability for our clients. And that was like a really key moment. And then I kind of did some digging and self reflection on like years prior at things that I had to say no to, that I had said yes to things too early on in the game and like the booking game, filling out my year. And I'm like, oh yeah, I need to like, that's why like I really don't like booking things a year out in advance. Definitely
Yeah.
not more than a year out in
Yeah.
advance. Like ideally 6 months out, you know?
Mhm.
And like we
Yep.
were just talking before we hit record, Taylor
Yes.
just booked a wedding. Taylor just booked a wedding for 2 days from now.
Yes,
Like,
exactly. It
yeah.
Full
really
price and
is.
everything. Like, let's
Yes,
go.
Yeah.
exactly. And it's so funny because I I've had that same thing happen to me, Kelly, where like in it was 2000, it was right after the pandemic. So that's like what, 2022, that season of 2022. We had, it was like, that was kind of one of our craziest seasons. I think for everybody, like because you had weddings that had booked and then you had weddings that were postponed and all these things. And that really made me sit down and take a good hard look because we had a few weddings like sprinkled in there that we felt so good about and that we were like, these are the people we want to like, how do we multiply them, how can we like get those same types of families and people and couples again and again. And I started to really sit down and not only look at just my numbers but also like who those people were and what connected them with us, that we had so much fun just during the planning process and on the day of and the weekend. And and a lot of it was the connection with the families. We learned that our couples who are really connected to their families and like really want their families involved and and enjoy that camaraderie with them and all of that, those are our people. They're like, they were as excited for me that I was pregnant than, like if I was their own child, we're getting to the wedding and they all had gifts for Sloan. It's like, what in the world? So we definitely, I really took a good hard look at that. I took a good hard look at like my team. They are really hard workers and our couples love them, and I want to pay them well. And I want to make sure that they're always with me because they make me look good, with that interaction, not with just guests, but also vendors. So, like, what do we need to do to make sure that we're not taking on things that they also have to feel slighted in, or being treated not great, or, doing things that we really don't need to be doing, you know? And so really that power of saying no, we had an inquiry that would have been pretty incredible. And we went to the contract stage, and I got like a wild email from a person in the wedding that would be a part of the wedding. And I read the email and I was like, yeah, no, we're not taking on this wedding. And I talked to my team about it because I was like, hey, we're a team, and I know this would be a big wedding for all of us. So I want to get your opinion. I will do it if you guys are all on board. But my gut is telling me that this is not going to be great. This is going to be bad, all bad. And they were like, no, we 100% agree with you, Victoria. And we like back you and, saying no to this wedding. And I felt really bad telling the bride, and she was very upset. And, I explained to her, I said, listen, we work really hard. And I told you on our initial call that like, it's a team effort here. And so I don't want to put my team through this. And I don't think that you want to have a planner that's not all in. So, I think there's other planners out there that can do exactly what you're asking them to do. But we're just not the ones for you. And I really was like, oh my God, I cannot believe that I said no to that lead, and that I like told this girl no. And I have a friend that did the wedding. And we were talking, she was like, you have no idea the bullet you dodged.
Oh no.
That intuition is strong sometimes.
It's
You really got to go with
strong.
your gut.
You really do. And, and kind of stepping away and then hearing that. And, I was like, you know what? I gotta go with this. And that date, the date that couple wanted, we got another wedding that was everything I've ever dreamed of and amazing. And the couple we worked with, I mean, we just adore them. So it works out. But that feeling of like being like, oh my God, this is a great venue. These are great. You're going to be working with, there was a photographer on board already that I just adored and loved and like really wanted to work with. And I'm like, oh, there were all these things that were pulling me, but I knew I needed to say no to it.
Yeah, that intuition is so strong. I can probably count on over almost 15 years, maybe 10 times that we've gone through like the consultation phase with a client and everything. And I can just tell. I can remember one in particular. It was a consultation that we had with the bride, the groom, Paul and I, and their planner. It was going to be at a great venue in LA, and I'd never worked with this planner before, but I thought that he seemed amazing, and the clients, they just grilled us on the consultation.
Oh my
Grilled
gosh.
us. Like when you got off the consultation, I'm like sweating. Like,
Sweating.
it was
When you have a couple that grills you, you literally are in a full sweat after the consultation.
Totally. And they were so like, they just came to the table with their like, they were just like grilling us. And we got off the call, and Paul and I looked at each other, and we were like, I don't think we can do this. Like, I just don't think that this is going to be the one for us. And so I forget what happened next. The couple wanted to move forward. And I can't remember if we had emailed the planner separately and just said, thank you so much for this opportunity. They seem like an incredible couple. I just don't think that we are in alignment on some of the things that we discussed. And I don't think that we are going to be the best team to serve them on their wedding day. And there was some pushback. Like the client was like, wait, no, like,
yeah.
no. Like, and even the planner called me. We had a separate phone call. And he was even like, he's like, I told them, like, you guys grilled them. Like,
Yeah.
I can totally see why they don't want to work with you. Like,
Exactly.
I think he even gave me some insight into like how some of the other consultations had gone with like the band, and like they kind of like, he's like, they're the sweetest couple, but for some reason when they get onto consultations, they just like become different people.
Yeah.
and he was like really trying to pull me on, being like, I promise you, like this is going to be great. Like I think you guys can do it. They're really not like this. And I was like, I think we're going to pass on this one. And he's like, I understand, I totally understand. And I'm sure that we booked the date. I can't remember. It was years ago, but we had booked the date with something else with a client who we felt really great about. And so it's gonna come, and just don't let that scarcity creep in and take hold of you into saying yes to everything, because it's really ultimately just gonna lead to burnout. Like, let's be real.
Totally. Totally. It makes you feel, and you don't feel good. So I feel like if you don't feel good, you're not really doing your best for them. On especially during that whole wedding weekend of, whatever is happening, you're not going to feel you're you're just not, I mean, there's no other way to say it. You're
Yeah.
not going to do your best because you're not going to feel your best.
Inspiration can be hard to like manufacture if you're just
Yes,
not emotionally invested in something. And I think that
totally.
like what happened with Kelley, that's like the couple showing that they don't trust you, And I
Yes.
Yeah.
feel like we need that trust,
Yeah.
I feel like that's like a bare minimum,
Oh,
or else
so
they
important. It's so
become
important.
controlling and yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Really quickly, rewinding a little bit, you said something that I think is so important, especially for those who are listeners who have a team, or they're a husband and wife team, or maybe you have a team of associates or whatever. And you said, like, I went back to my team and I wanted to be sure that everybody on the team was on the same page on if we were going to say yes or no to this. That is so important in like gaining trust and traction with your team towards the direction that you all want to go together, because you as a leader, like that is so huge for you to like take the consideration of everyone as a team. And so for those listening, I don't know, like just really listen in on that, or rewind a few minutes on when you brought that in, because um whole team has to be on the same page, right?
They
It's the same
really
thing
do.
with Paul and I as a husband and wife team. I mean, Taylor, you probably don't have to like, you just like, or maybe you have to like consult with your husband on like if it's something that's going to be like a weekend that was going to be something you want to do as a family. Like you've told me you said no
Yeah.
to commitments for like Easter, like weekend, or like
Yep.
birthday weekends, things like that. So everyone kind of has to like consult somebody, whether it's
Yes.
family members for childcare or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
I've had to do that recently. I have 3 kids now. So like
Yeah.
we're in communication with a wedding with a client in Aspen in April. And like I have to like, before we get to that contract stage, I have to like call up the grandparents and be like,
Yep.
would this be okay? Like we're going to be gone for
Exactly.
like 5 days. And,
Exactly.
so the
Yeah.
whole team, whether it's, you know, people who have stake in your company or people who have stake in your childcare, you have to ask
Yeah.
everybody.
100%. You have to, I mean, I have so many conversations, not, just with my team, my ladies, my girls, Hillary and Tatiana, just because they're so client facing. And especially on the day of, Tatiana, she's our bridal concierge. She's like really in there with those families. And she can handle anything. Like I've watched her and it's incredible, to see her in action. And with Hillary, it's like she's, our event manager. And so she has to know every little detail about every single wedding. And, the week before the wedding, she kind of takes on that communication with the couple so that I can really be like the creative director and focus on all the other things that I want to be doing and, dotting the I's and crossing the T's and all that kind of stuff. So, really, talking to them and being open with them, even just when leads come in and, who we're talking to and who, potentially wants to speak with us and things like that is so important. And even just like dates, where they're thinking of getting married, where they're going, those kind of things. And then my husband, his life is insane. So I'm constantly like saying to him, like, okay, this one's going to take me to Mexico. Do he's like, well, I guess, you, Sloan, my mom, I've taken my mother-in-law to planning trips, I've taken my nannies, like whoever, to make sure that, we're all doing our part to get this on the road.
Yeah, it's a true team effort, like all
Mhm.
around. Yeah.
It
And it's
really
so
Yes.
is.
good.
I
It
know there's
really
so
is.
many people behind the scenes that like build our business dreams that like deserve all the praise and appreciation. Like the nannies and
Yes.
the family, like family members, like it's all a big team effort.
It really is. It really, really is. So, you just have to I take that so seriously with them, and I know that I wouldn't be anywhere without them. So, making sure that they're also taken care of is just so important. And you get the best work out of people when they feel appreciated.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very true. Like financially compensating them, emotionally, like so my husband, his career has him in like a leadership role. And so like I get a lot of like whatever he's learning or implementing, like I'm, a sounding board for a lot of that. And um something that he said like really stuck with me. It's like your job as a leader is not to like actually lead the charge and the effort. It's to like form a team and put them in their positions of like their superpower and like make sure they have what they need to execute like the mission. So actually like when you just said like I have my bridal concierge and then I have somebody who takes over more of like the logistics and planning so I can step into like the creative director role. Like I think that's so smart and so many high level like filmmakers and photographers like formulate their teams that way too. Like we'll bring on like drone operators, somebody just to do details, things like that. But I think it's something that people in like the more beginning and like intermediate stages of business can really like take away. It's like don't sleep on like building out a team for like at least like the bigger events like that you're brought onto. I mean, we all have a few that stand out, against the crowd every year. And I think that it's good to get into the habit of building a team out so that you can step into your what like makes you unique and then all of those jobs can like be executed with equal levels of excellence if that makes sense.
Exactly. A
Yeah.
100%. Yep, totally. It's so important, and um it makes for, I think, for me personally, and the planner role, it makes for all of our weddings, and not just weddings but also our events where we've been moving into a lot of like more milestone events, and they all just run like a well-oiled machine because everybody knows their role and everybody knows, okay, I'm in charge of this. Like the amount of times they are like, okay, where's the we need to make sure the steamers get there because we are going to start steaming at this time. And we're going to, I don't even have to say that to anybody. Everybody knows already that I am a crazy person when it comes to linens. And, all just those like little tiny things that, um, when in the beginning you're kind of racing around and like doing all yourself and like wearing yourself out, you definitely, as you start building out that team, you everyone kind of knows what they're supposed to be doing to make that full wedding come together.
Yeah. Yeah, I can we circle back to the bridal concierge thing? That is such an important role that I feel like planners in more of like the middle market tier that are like dipping their toes into that. I've seen far too many times their most novice person on their team taking on the bridal concierge role. And I actually think that it needs to be the person with the most experience,
Oh,
not like someone just to throw into that room. Like
no,
it can be a
no.
bloodbath in there
It could.
sometimes.
It could. It really can. The person that you put in as your bridal concierge is so important. Their personality is so important because they are there to keep everybody calm on the day of. That's really one of Tatiana's biggest jobs is to ease all of those emotions that are running through everyone's bodies, from the parents to the couple to the wedding party to the aunt that is not involved but thinks she's in charge. You know what I mean? Like, there are, we have a whole meeting. We do, we print out pictures of people so that there's key people that she already knows their names that are, VIPs. When we know that there's someone that's going to be, the couple's already told us is going to be a little bit of an issue, we know what that person looks like, and we make that person feel so loved on that they
Yep.
can't even create an issue because they're just like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm having this fabulous time and everyone knows me. And so they don't even remember that they, think that they could have done it better themselves. you know?
Amazing.
But really, I mean, at the end of weddings, it's so funny because there's been countless brides who have come to us and been like, I'm inviting Tatiana to my Thanksgiving. Like,
Oh my
she's really
gosh.
becomes like part of their family. I had a father of the bride who he was like, I gotta just tell you, that Tatiana, she just had everything I needed. Anything I said. I said something about a toothpick and like she turned around, she had a toothpick. Like, who has a toothpick? And I'm like, Tatiana does because she's literally Mary Poppins.
That's so
That's so
fun.
amazing. I know. Bridal
So,
concierge can really, really make or break the whole mood and the start of the day. It is so important. So I
it's
I
so
know we have a few
important.
planner listeners, and I'm sure bringing you on, Victoria, we're gonna have some extra planner listeners because they want to hear what you have to
Yes.
say. Um, but if you haven't like really, really thought out this bridal concierge situation, it's so important to put like your best of the best in that role, and that person that's just going to be like a golden retriever energy, but can execute
Yes.
with elegance as well. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
times where they kind of do have to like put down the hammer on like, all right,
Yes.
so we need to like transition over here. Um,
Exactly.
and so you have to be like kind yet clear on what
Yes.
needs to be happening. So I don't know, just a takeaway that I've noticed over the years that there's been I think that when they're stepping into that and now they have the budget to bring on someone for bridal concierge, or it was like a request of the client, um, bring someone really, really that has a lot of experience, not someone
Yes.
who's like new to the team because it's a
And
big
you can
role.
also, kind of one of the way how I found Tatiana really was she was a bridal consultant at a bridal boutique that we have a really good relationship with. So I knew she was fabulous with all the brides that came in to look at their dresses and and I saw her work ethic there, and my friend who owned the bridal shop, she even was like, she really also wants to learn a little bit about events. And so that's really, finding people in roles that can help you also on the day of. Like, I don't have to worry about, does she know how to bustle the train, because she learned so much about bustling in her previous job that like that was second nature. So really, it doesn't have to be like a groundbreaking kind of person that you go to find. You probably actually know somebody already that you can, use on those weekends, and they just might want to get some experience. And that's kind of how Tatiana started, and then it really kind of morphed in, into that role for her. And she does it now for other planners as well. I've told other planners about her, and they like text me after the weddings, are like, oh my God, Victoria. She's
So great.
amazing. So
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. So you started off first wedding at $550.
Yes.
Now in 2024, are you percentage based or flat rate?
I'm percentage based.
Okay,
We
cool.
have a flat, we have a rate, we have a minimum amount that so we basically, the way we explain it to our couples is that minimum really covers, the minimum that our weddings cost to produce. So like that's the same percent of, if you were to spend on this wedding, just the minimum amount that of the weddings that we produce. And then if if you exceed, then we get paid more because we're doing way more for vendors and logistics, and we might team members, but all of those things you don't have to pay extra for.
Mm-hmm. On
So
average, I mean, so we ask all of our guests beforehand if they're comfortable discussing like actual numbers. And I feel like you check the little box saying, yes, you're good to go. What on like average would you say is like a typical spend, like all in spend for your clients for their weddings? If you could like give us like what the wedding day is, and then maybe like for the multi-day events, like all of that combined, because I think that there's just like such a disconnect between like photo and video and like really understanding like the industry as a whole.
Yes.
So we're trying to bring more transparency in that way.
Totally. So in 2025, our weddings are hitting, like, as we've been going through the budgeting and everything like that. And also 2024, 2023 was the same kind of, these are the same numbers. A wedding day usually hits between that 250 to 350 mark. That's for just the wedding day. Everything that they are wanting. They are wanting bridal stylists. They are wanting the full glam. They're wanting lots of guest experiences at the reception, and then for the full weekend, we're usually hitting that 650 to 750,000 mark.
That's
Amazing.
great.
Yeah.
Good for you guys. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun, and but it is, when I first say those numbers to people, they're like, "Excuse me," like someone who's on a consultation, and then we show them the actual numbers, like past budgets, not with anybody's names on it or anything like that, but like, this is, if you want what you're seeing on our Instagram or what you're seeing on Pinterest, and also the other thing that I've been talking about a lot with like my social team is that it's hard to show exactly why our weddings cost as much as they do, just because I feel like when you look at a picture, it looks kind of simple, but you aren't seeing all of the guest experience and the high touch points that our couples are putting into those weddings to make it so unique and so special. And just where we're sourcing their vendors from are from all over the place. So, we're flying people in, all of those kind of things like add to the cost of the wedding. And so trying to explain that, or, you have a couple who we had a couple who they never wanted the food to end. They were very clear that every wedding they've been to, they've been hungry. And they're like, our wedding, we are food centric. We want the food to just keep coming. We want stations. We want big, we had the Parmesan wheels with pasta, just going all night. I mean, there was it was food to the nines. And I show that budget to people and I say, like, you're seeing a lot of money spent on food. Well, this is the reason why. You don't have to spend all that money on food, but if you want something like that, and that wedding in particular, a lot of people, when they come to us, they reference that wedding. And so we're always like, okay, well, that
Here you
wedding was
go.
not cheap.
Break out the cheese wheels.
Exactly.
Break out the cheese wheels.
Exactly.
With those events, because sometimes people also don't realize, the listeners, that at this caliber, I mean, these clients are treating their guests in guest experiences, but a lot of times too, they're paying for their accommodations and stuff like that. So with those numbers, does that include them covering some accommodations, all accommodations, or no accommodations for the guests?
Sometimes all.
Okay. Yeah.
But they're definitely covering at least 10 to 15 rooms.
Yeah. Like the immediate family, maybe bridal party, or no?
Immediate family, sometimes like, two best friends.
Yeah.
They're definitely covering accommodations for people.
Yeah. We had a wedding earlier this year and it seemed really, really simple. And I had a conversation with the planner on the spend on the wedding. And she said, yeah, the spend was, I believe it was in the 600s. And I was really surprised. Like, I think she kind of saw on my face, like, I don't know if this all connects. Like, how is this all happening? Because it was like 120 people.
Yeah.
It was at a Montage property. So, yeah, but she was like, well, what you're not seeing is that they paid for over half of these people to stay at Montage for the whole week. And they took the top tier suite that books out at this per night. And like them treating the family. So I think like anyone who was considered family to them and the bridal party, they covered, and then anyone like else, they didn't. But that's where like a lot of that spend went. So it didn't look overly impressive. It wasn't a portfolio wedding for us, but it was still a high spend. It was just that the way that the couple wanted to spend their money was in really cultivating a true guest experience, in taking care of them in their accommodations and putting them up in the montage for a week. So that's where that went.
Totally.
Yeah.
It really is, what I have learned over the years, is that people spend on what is important to them. And you can't tell them what's important to them. They have to, they're in charge of that. I've seen it in all different ways. I've seen it where, some of our couples are really, really into, like I said, food, or they're really into like, okay, what can we do that's different? Like we want an after party, we want arcade games, and we want tattoo artists, and we want all these other people coming in that aren't usually typically at a wedding, but they're coming in for this, or IVs. They want all the guests to be able to get an IV the next day, and so there's a lot of different moving parts that you don't even realize until, you kind of sit down and you really talk through exactly what that whole event entailed.
Yeah, I love it. Taylor, any other questions relating to saying no, having confidence? I guess, Victoria, maybe it would be like if you were to give that elevator pitch to people on why it's so important to begin saying no in 2025, what would it be?
That is such a good question. My elevator pitch would be, when you start to feel confident in saying no, you start opening up to your greatness. And when you are able to have your greatness, then the sky's the limit for you. So have the confidence. Don't let that scarcity feeling get you down, because the bookings will come, the couples will come, and you will be able to really, shine through.
Yeah, so encouraging. I think it's definitely a reminder that we can all, use here and there just to keep our heads in the games, because no matter where you are in the industry, whether you're sitting at the top or you're just starting out, like those feelings of doubt are just very human. And it's something that we need somebody in our corner cheering us on. And hopefully this can be a resource for people to listen back to. If they're feeling those seasons of doubt, they can hit the little save on this episode and they can just re-listen again to your sweet words of wisdom. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation, Victoria. For those who are listening who haven't yet found you online or connected with you, where can they do that?
You can find us Instagram at Victoria Ann Events with an S. You can also victorianevents.com. We redid our website this year, so I'm really proud of that. Those are really the two places that I'm the most active. So I'm not on TikTok. I mean, I am on TikTok, but I don't ever post.
Same. I think everybody kind of is.
Yeah, I'm a consumer.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Victoria. I hope you all loved this conversation, and we'll see you guys again next week.
Thank you for joining us in today's conversation. Please help us reach more filmmakers and photographers like you by taking a screenshot and sharing it to social media. And don't forget to tag us at The Level Up Co.
And join us again next week, same time, same place, as we continue to level up the industry together.